for my beautiful ladies here. SEA at the middle. SEA. You did here. SEA. All right, so we are all together. And the next on our agenda is the lightning talk from Karen Chukwu. She's going to be joining us virtually. And she will be speaking on legal backup for women in tech. So we have been having a lot of sessions since morning, and we had some that talks about how to react to sexual harassment and all, talking about mental health and everything. And this is a crucial part too, where we had to pay attention, yeah. And that's how you ask for legal backup for any situation you can find yourself in. So Karen Chukwu is a tech and IP lawyer and certified project manager. Well, I keep speaking about a certified lawyer, and everybody's just looking at me as what is she saying? What is she saying? You're not clapping. I'm still waiting. So as I'm calling it, you are clapping. It's not easy. It's not easy to be a Texas, right? And to now be a lawyer on top. So yes, Karen Chukwu is a tech and IP lawyer and a certified project manager. She is the founder and managing partner of Catwig. You're still not clapping? Catwig is part of our non-profit spotlight. So they are really, really, really doing amazing things in the tech industry, and especially for women in tech. So she's the founder and managing partner of Catwig and Dell, a women-led technology and digital-driven Africa law firm, supporting individuals, startups, investors, and tech-based business to grow Africa's economy. With so much joy and clap, please make welcome virtually Karen Chukwu. Keep clapping until that video shows up. Keep clapping, fam.
Hello.
I know we are tired, but see, that energy you have been bringing since morning, please. Bring it. Keep clapping. Karen is here. Keep clapping. Keep clapping. She can see you. Let her feel all the energy in the room. Let her know she called Africa Queens are here. So keep clapping.
Hello.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Great. Okay, so let me start by apologizing. I'm dressed this way because one of my best girls is married. She just got married today, and I'm one of the bridesmaids. And I also had to be here as well. I had committed and I had to deliver. So today I'm going to be talking to you. I mean, the topic is legal backup for women in tech, but essentially it's just trying to get you to understand certain things to help you as you build your career in tech, pretty much, and to ensure that you don't make some mistakes that some of us did when we started out. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So the objectives of this session is to ensure that all of you get a working understanding of employment contracts and clauses to look out for, to understand intellectual property rights and your protection, how to go about it, to obviously understand more about tax remittance, more about regulatory compliance, contractual relationships, and there is a session specifically set for female founders currently present today. But before I actually start speaking, I would like to commend the She Code Africa team. Ada and her team, they're doing amazing. I'm actually so glad that I'm a member of this community. I've met amazing women as well. And honestly, it feels so good to know that I actually know Ada. Not just Ada, but like women like Ruth as well. Like these ladies are doing amazing. So we'll jump right into it. The first one is, your employment contract. So many of us here Definitely. Well, people are trying to obviously build their career, right? And, get a better job, join a better company. And there's the excitement that comes with it, especially when you've been looking for a job. Apologies, I also have a slight cold. When you've been looking for a job and, you haven't actually, either you probably haven't gotten the right fit for you or the right team. And so some people make this mistake. The moment they get their employment contract, they just jump right into it and then they sign it and they're excited to start. But there are some things to pay attention to. The first one, which might not seem as much as, it might not seem too legal, but it is essential, is the role and description clause, which pretty much sets out your roles within that entity. I'll give an example. So let's say Ada, was going for the role of a junior dev, and she found, a very suitable role within some fintech company, and she had the interview, everything went well, and when they provided the contract to her, the roles and descriptions, had been tweaked a little bit, which then starts to depict the roles and responsibilities rather of a senior dev. Now, the moment Ada signs this contract, she has said automatically that, I can deliver. But Ada is a junior dev, and she's been told now she has to deliver as a senior dev. It's obviously not going to work, right? And there are going to be issues, which is why I always say to people, ensure that you go through the roles and responsibilities again. Another thing to look at is your remuneration and benefits. There's something that happens with women, and please forgive me for saying this or for shaking this table, but we've seen it happen so many times. Also, as an employer, I have compared, well, I've compared, men and women who I've interviewed in the past, and oftentimes I see that some women are not very open to actually negotiating their salaries and their benefits. The guys are a bit more ruthless. Well, sometimes I see females, just being fine with that. And I'm going to say, definitely don't just take anything because it's been handed over to you. I mean, you're a star. You know your value. You know what you're bringing to the table. So definitely negotiate this. According to the Labor Act, right? You are entitled to pension. You are entitled to group life insurance. You are entitled to obviously your tax being paid, right? Now, if you get a contract that is not stipulating all of these, please, 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 contact HR. Tell them I'm not seeing anything on pension. I'm not seeing anything on group life insurance. What's going on here, right? Sometimes these guys leave it out deliberately. Sometimes they don't know that they're supposed to actually include these clauses in your employment contract. And so demand for it. Don't look at anybody's face when you're actually demanding for these things. Very important. Now, one important thing as well to look out for in your employment contracts would be the restrictive clauses. Clauses on, confidentiality, non-compete, non-solicitation, intellectual property rights. This is literally where so many people are nailed in their coffin. And I say this because, you're seated here, smart, young, beautiful, bold, and with just a stroke of your pen on an agreement, you might have signed away a whole lot, especially as it pertains to your IP rights. Your intellectual property is something that you come up with. Now, an idea, right? Many people obviously have ideas, similar ideas. You will be shocked to know how many people actually have the same idea as you do, right? But when you take that extra step to actually protect that idea, right, you give yourself an exception over others who have a similar idea but didn't protect it. Now, when I speak about intellectual property, I'm sure you must have heard about copyrights, trademarks, patents, trade secrets, industrial designs, etc., right? These are very, very important. If you code, which I believe that most of us in this hall do, you know that you are actually able to copyright your code, meaning that someone else would not be able to write such code without either giving you, like, referencing your work, or at least seeking, getting a license from you to be able to, write a similar code to yours. Wow. Another thing is, of course, the trademarks as well. Some of us here, have brands that, we're trying to protect. I'll give you an example. The She Code Africa logo and name, that entire thing is already, I mean, trademarked, right? What that means is someone else, right, within Nigeria cannot use that logo or the name within the classes within which, it's been trademarked. And it gives you that exclusivity. Whenever you hear She Code Africa, you know the logo, you know the community. We're not dragging it. So somebody in Abakaliki cannot try to use She Code Africa's logo for anything, as long as they're not, as long as it's, not within the class, of course, because under trademarks there are various classes of trademarks, and once you protect your IP under a particular class, you literally own that exclusivity. So moving on from your employment contracts, last thing I'd like to say about that is when you get a contract, do not be in a haste to sign it. Some of these employers are very, very crafty. They tell you things like, well, you have 2 days to sign this contract. That's to get you riled up so that you make a very quick decision without getting, a qualified lawyer to review it for you. Please, 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 and please get a qualified lawyer to actually review your employment contract. If you do not know one, and if you are worried about it being, expensive, etc., yeah, I'm sure you have friends that are studying law, at least, final level law students or in law school. Get them to review it. There'll be some red flags they would spot that you wouldn't be able to spot. I always say to people, I don't code, right? And when I see code, it looks like gibberish to me. It's the same way people who are very skilled in a particular field, when they see legal things, right, it pretty much comes off as gibberish to them. Now, I had spoken about, intellectual property when I spoke about employment contracts. So we'll just go through them briefly. So copyright, trademarks, patents, industrial designs, trade secrets, geographical indications. These are the recognized intellectual property rights. And you are never too young to actually hold your IP rights. Do not sign a contract that says that whatever you build, because now some lawyers can be very crafty and some employers can be very crafty as well. They draft a contract, right? And how they phrase that intellectual property clause is such that even when you leave the company, whatever you create is still owned by the company. Now that's a big problem because it's your idea, you've put in the work. So why do they own that? Typically, an employee's IP, an employer obviously holds certain rights within that employee's IP, but there are exceptions to it. If you create this in your own personal time outside of your work hours, and if you do not use your employer's resources, then your employer has no right over your intellectual property. But again, I would always say be very, very careful with agreements that you sign. And if you have an idea, please speak to a qualified lawyer. Think about, protecting your IP. Because some people see it as just, it's just IP, just trademark, just copyright. The funny thing is, people actually cash out from this. If Ada has, if Ada probably has her idea patented, a novel invention patented, and I wanted to use it, I would have to obtain a license from Ada. And Ada could say, before I give it to Karen, are you able to pay just 2 million naira just to use it for 2 weeks? That's clean money made there. I'm not saying to look at it from the financial aspect of things. I'm not saying to you to look at it from the financial aspect of things, but please, please, please always protect your IP. It's very important. It could be another source of income for you as well without you knowing. Now, another thing that I'm going to speak about is tax. Every time I raise tax, my clients get, please, why am I paying tax? Some of my friends are like, why am I paying tax? Do we have to pay tax? Is it compulsory? The one that's so common that I hear is, what has Nigeria done to actually get me to pay tax? They're stealing the money. Why am I putting my hard-earned money into the hands of the government, people that steal the money, right? Now, I understand your grievances, but the truth is, paying tax is compulsory. I've had some remote workers say, I work for a company in the US, I work for a company in Geneva. Do I really have to pay tax? Yes, love, you have to pay tax. But the good thing about it is, if you earn, say, 1.5 million naira per month, right? If you earn that amount, maybe you're a remote worker or something, I don't know. But if you earn that, or you earn maybe 300,000 a month, your what you earn is not what's being taxed, right? How it works is, there's going to be a deduction made. You're going to have to say, okay, this amount of money goes into housing, this amount of money goes into transportation, this amount of money goes into healthcare. Now, when you remove the deductibles, right, the remainder is actually what is taxed. So if you're earning 300,000 monthly, your entire 300,000 is not what's taxed. No, it's what's taxed is when the deductibles have been taken out completely. That's the amount that's taxed. So don't get worried. And again, please approach a qualified lawyer to assist you with this, because it can get very tricky. So you always have to pay tax for the previous tax year, latest by 31st March the next year. Your personal income tax percentages range from 7% to 24%, as you can see. And yes, 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 and yes, there are penalties for non-compliance, right? It's better to, I mean, don't do penny wise pound foolish. And I'm going to say this now because I've seen it happen. Some people obviously have employers who say that they pay tax for them. And I'll say to you today from experience, if you have an employer that says to you that we're paying tax on your behalf and they're deducting money from your salary, please follow up. You need to have a TIN, your tax identification number. It's easy to get that. You walk into any FIRS, you can obtain it. If your employer says they're paying tax for you, ensure that apologies. Ensure that you're following up with what's ensure that you're following up with what's being paid, because I've had certain situations where a worker has been told, oh, we're paying your tax for you, right? And then 2 years into the period where she's about to leave the company, right, and she has gotten a job somewhere else, she's been asked to provide proof of this. And this is someone that was actually Japan, which brings me to my the next thing I'm going to say. Now, she was asked to provide proof of tax payment for the preceding years, because you actually need your tax clearance certificate. And she went back to her employers. I need proof of the tax you've been paying for me, because you've been deducting money from my salary. And guess what? They weren't paying tax. They kept taking money from her salary, saying to her that they were paying tax, but they were not paying tax for her. And now it became a problem because she was moving to a new country, a developed country, and no country wants to accept a liability. Are you going to come in and be compliant? Everybody will say yes. That's typical. But they're going to look further than that. They're going to try to see proof that you will be compliant. Now, if you're not even paying tax in your home country, you're definitely not going to pay tax in their own country. And tax is what sustains these countries. The UK, the US, Denmark, etc. They're sustained based on tax paid by their citizens and people who live in these countries. And so please, 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 and please, regardless of where you work, regardless of what you earn, ensure that you are paying your tax as at when due. Before I speak to founders, right? I was going to, well, this is to employees now because I've been speaking to employees. Sometimes it might seem like there's so much that you need to do, and you're worried about knowing what to start with and what to not start with. The truth is, just start, right? Don't beat yourself up about it. Some of you might actually say, oh wow, and I just signed this agreement yesterday, oh my goodness, I'm finished. No, you're not finished. Breathe, right? Get a qualified lawyer to assist you. Review whatever document you want to sign. Never agree to anything. Please, 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 never agree to anything. Be very careful. Be very careful about what you sign. Be very careful what you put your signature on. Now, moving on to female founders. Starting and running a business in Nigeria is one of the hardest things that anyone can do, because there are new regulations every day. I mean, sometimes it can be a very daunting task, right? And so you need all the help you can get. But I'm going to run through some things that you need to put behind your mind when you actually say you're starting a business, either as a sole founder or with your co-founders, right? Now, the first thing is your business structure. what kind of business are you trying to run, right? Do you want to have, do you want to, sell what, maybe laptop or yeah, laptop. Let's use laptop accessories. Do you want to sell that? What kind of business structure is best for that kind of business, right? Or do you want an actual company where you can actually have directors and shareholders that hold you accountable, regardless of which way you're going? It's always important to consult a qualified lawyer, right? Good. And if you were going to go, with a company is a legal person on its own. So if I incorporate a company and something went wrong, no, I'm sorry, you're going to sue the company, not me. I'm not the company. The company, it's its own person. The company can sue, can be sued, can have its own account, can literally do anything that it wants to do, right? Now, there are exceptions to this rule where a company is a person on its own. Of course, the exceptions are, when the directors have done something that would warrant the court to lift the corporate veil. But let's not get into that. That's too much legalese for today, right? Another thing to think about and consider is regulatory compliance. Every day, there is one new policy that's springing up. There is one new regulation that's springing up. And sometimes it can be hard to catch up. I totally understand. But, assess the industry you're playing within. The fintech space is one of the most heavily regulated space, the oil and gas space as well. But assess the industry you're playing in. Obviously, do your own research. Like, don't just say, oh yeah, I have a lawyer that will do this for me, this and that. I mean, having a lawyer is great. It's amazing. But you as a person as well, you need to know some of these regulations that apply to you. Another thing to always consider is your tax. So things like your value added tax, which is VAT, 7.5% of, a vatable good or service. Things like your personal income tax, withholding tax, company income tax, you have to obviously pay these. And you need to be able to show your tax clearance certificate as well and make the necessary filings to CAC. These are ways that you're compliant, because CAC requires you to make certain returns and filings. If you're not doing that, you're not compliant. And I spoke about regulatory compliance, right? Now, another thing to pay attention to, which I've touched on, is your intellectual property. Whatever you create with any company that you started, that intellectual property right, once registered, belongs to your company. Not you, not your employees. It is an asset by the company, right? Because again, the company is a separate person. Now, something to consider is contracts. Now, most founders, I've seen some founders, early stage, getting into agreements that are more gentlemanly than formal. And I always advise against this, because when a problem arises, I mean, you have nothing really to fall back on. You have no proof. And so I always say, please, please, please execute that founders agreement, execute that partnership agreement, execute, but always get a qualified lawyer to draft it. And finally, insurance is very, very important. Most people don't state this enough, but I will tell you this, and I'll give you like a real life example that we've actually watched happen before our eyes, which is, the flood that happened. In this flood, and it's still ongoing even, it hasn't really like cleared or washed away or anything. In this flood, so many people lost their properties, lost their businesses, etc. Now, some people might have gotten insurance. They might have gotten a comprehensive insurance cover, right? Which means that they're able to actually get money from their insurance company to start again. For those that didn't have any insurance cover, they are down bad. And so it's very, very important to always, always insure your business, even insure your life. It's also important to insure your life as well, at least for your loved ones. So let me not bore you with so much talk. If you have any question, please feel free to send me a DM, send me an email. If you have my number, definitely text me on WhatsApp or on LinkedIn. And in collaboration with Chukwu Africa and courtesy of Catwig and Deal, we will be giving 15 women a free agreement advisory and review. For those of you that are probably trying to get a new gig and you've actually been given a contract, we're definitely, going to review that for you. So first 15 women that actually get to sign up. So bit.ly/SCA Catwig. Just copy this link, or you can scan the QR code. And yeah, we would definitely help you review that agreement and, tell you what it is that's a red flag and just nudge you in the right direction. And all of this is free of charge, courtesy of Catwick and Dale, and in collaboration with Chukwu Africa. Thank you for listening to me, ramble in my Ashwebi attire. Thank you.